Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to today's video. So I am back doing another ranking of the Walt Disney World resorts, and today we're going to talk about the moderates. So the moderates, I haven't stayed in a moderate in a while. Like, I'm looking at the list and I'm like, I haven't stayed in a moderate in a while. Since we became Disney Vacation Club owners, just haven't stayed at one. But I did stay, we have stayed at a couple, and it was actually staying at a moderate was what convinced us to join Disney Vacation Club, and I'll explain that in a bit. But there are 5. Now, there's one again that I kind of, just like Art of Animation, where I considered was Value Plus. The cabins at Disney's Fort Wilderness is considered a moderate resort. However, you're obviously going to get like a cabin with a full kitchen, so I would say it's kind of moderate plus. But since it is in the moderate category, I am going to include it in the ranking, and we'll explain kind of where it falls in. So let's get into the rankings. Okay, so starting with number 5, it is going to be the cabins at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort. So first of all, I love the cabins. The cabins are an experience. We booked the cabin for my son's first birthday. I needed a full kitchen. I was still breastfeeding, and I needed to be able to have access to a freezer. So we had a full kitchen, and I was amazed. I realized, wow, having a kitchen at Walt Disney World is a game changer, and having that space, it really made the trip a lot more relaxing because, it was a game changer. That's what I could say. And that was what prompted me to start looking into Disney Vacation Club, because I was like, if we're going to do a week-long vacation, I like this. This made it feel like a vacation and not a trip. So I love the cabins. However, with the cabins, there's a couple things. One, it's very far out there. They're out there. They're within the resort, and then within the Fort Wilderness, there's an internal loop, and then there's a bus stop at the front of the resort. So if you are going to, Epcot, you have to take the internal bus to the front of the resort and then get on the bus there. So switch buses and get to the resort. So get to the park. So it can take you a while to get to the park if you don't have your own car. We had our own car when we went, so that was not a big deal. It was fine. And, it didn't really matter to us. We also had a golf cart. So we rented a golf cart, but that is also going to add to your cost of your trip. However, the amenities at Fort Wilderness are amazing. So if you are doing, a very park-like trip, or maybe just a resort staycation, then I think the cabins are amazing because there's so much to do on Fort Wilderness. And, there's the Chippendales sing-along, which is just returned. You have the hay rides and the sleigh rides during Christmas time. You've got Hoop-de-Doo is returned, and Trails End, and horseback riding, the pony rides. There's just so much to do on Fort Wilderness. So if you are doing a park light trip or no parks at all, the cabins would be number 1. However, given that if you are doing it, considering it's Walt Disney World, you're probably going to the parks, then I would say that for me, it's number 5. And again, it's because of location, and then also the pricing. I just did the same that I did when I did the values, is I pulled up some sample pricing, and all for the same time frame, and the cabins were just shy of $400. So it was $308 a night. Again, this is rack rate, no discounts. That's what the starting is when, if there's discounts. So personally, again, love the cabins, but for, park trips, it is the last on my list. Okay, so number 4 was really difficult because this is probably one of my favorite moderates. This was our go-to resort before we had our son. And this is Disney's Coronado Springs Resort. And I love the resort. First of all, it is the only moderate that has a gym. So if you are someone that, is going to stay for a week or two, and you want to be able to go to a gym, it does have a gym. So it's the only moderate resort that has one. And that's also because it is a convention hotel. There is a convention center attached to it. And sometimes you'll have a lot of conventions. I've actually attended a convention there. So, you have people that are, in business suits going to conventions, and then you have a bunch of people going to Disney World. So it's definitely a mixed group. Personally, I love the resort. I have not stayed at the Grand Destino Tower yet. We haven't even been in there. So we have not seen the renovations that it did. However, I still love the resort, and I've heard the tower is amazing. So it is one of my favorite resorts, but it is very large. You have the, the bus loops, but again, because it is a convention resort, you kind of got that mixed group. And also there is no other transportation. So it's just the bus to and from the resorts. So not a huge issue. I think that's going to be very typical with most of the moderate resorts. But, when I was trying to figure out kind of ranking, even though I love the resort, it ended up at number 4. So 3 and 4 were the two that I kind of was going back and forth of which was going to be 3, which was going to be 4. And I also did the same with 1 and 2. So for number 3, it is Disney's Port Orleans Riverside. So, and the reason why I put this at number 3, and I edged it over the Coronado Springs, is for 2 reasons. 1, it does have boat transportation to Disney Springs. So it doesn't have any other transportation to the parks. However, you can take the boat to Disney Springs, which is a huge bonus, especially if you don't have your own transportation. Having that boat access to Disney Springs is amazing. So we've had, when we've stayed at Old Key West, we've had our car, but we'll take the boat over to Disney Springs. It's just easier. You don't have to worry about parking. It's great. So that is a plus. And then the other reason is that this is one of the few resorts that has 5th sleepers. So 5th sleeper is basically there's 2 regular beds, but then it also has that twin Murphy bed under the TV. And that is huge. So, I love those. They have those at a lot of the DVC resorts now. And even with not having, only one child, he would probably prefer to sleep on that. It's just more convenient. And, so I think and if you have a family of, 3 kids, you can stay in one of these resorts. So that's a really big bonus for the Riverside Hotel, because you're going to have those 5th sleepers. Now, my understanding is that the 5th sleepers are only in the Alligator Bayou section, not in the Mansion section. So I'm pretty sure that's the case. It's been a while since I did my best and worst rooms at Disney's Port Orleans Resort, Riverside, but I will post a card up here, so if you are booking that resort, you can look. But pretty sure that the 5th sleepers are only in the Alligator Bayou. But then also remember that you have to book a 5th sleeper. So don't, if you don't see it on there, then they're probably sold out. So you have to book the 5th sleeper in order to get it. Don't think you can go on touring plans and you just booked a regular room and you're gonna say, well, we have 5, we're 5 people, we need the 5th sleeper. You have to book it. So just keep that in mind. But, I think it has really great theming. The one time we stayed there, we stayed in the Mansion section. It was just my husband. Well, he was my boyfriend at the time, but we loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was stunning. It was a great resort. So, but I haven't been there since I had, my son. Looking forward to going back. But for us, it is number 3 on our list. So as I mentioned, 1 and 2 really went back and forth, and this was a struggle. It also was a struggle because I have not stayed at either one. I have been at both, but I've never stayed at either one. So I kind of just had to go of which one would I book. And what I did is I also did the pricing. So I'm going to go over the pricing in a little bit of what the rack rates were for this, pseudo trip that I booked for January. And my number 2 in the moderate is going to be Disney's Port Orleans Resort French Quarter. So I'm sure most people are going to disagree with me on this one, but what it came down to was transportation. So just like Riverside has regular bus transportation to all the parks, but it does have the boat to Disney Springs. So again, that is a plus. Some pluses about the resort is it is one of the smaller ones. It's considerably smaller than Riverside. It is smaller, it's more intimate, and the theming is amazing. Obviously, you can get beignets there, which is the only place on property you can get beignets. I can't eat beignets, but I've heard they're really good. I think it's got everything except for the transportation. Also, it is one of the resorts that never has a discount. Anytime there's a discount, because it's so small and because it's so popular, it is always going to be more expensive. So there's rarely a discount at this resort, but I think with the theming and everything, it is fantastic. But there were some things that kind of on the other resort edged it out for me to put the Disney's Port Orleans Resort French Quarter at number 2. Okay, so my number 1 moderate resort at Walt Disney World is going to be Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort. So that, I'm sure so many people are going to disagree with me on this, but what it comes down to is transportation. Transportation, you've got the Skyliner, and not only do you have the Skyliner, but you also have the Skyliner hub. Caribbean Beach is a Skyliner hub, so you can go straight, you don't have to switch, you can go straight to Epcot, you can go straight to Hollywood Studios, and you're there. You can also resort hop. You can, take the Skyliner and go over to Pop Century or Art of Animation. You can take the Skyliner and go to Riviera, or actually you could walk to Riviera, but you can also take the Skyliner and, go to Beach Club and go to, Beaches and Cream or go to the boardwalk and have that access. So the Skyliner opens up so many other things where you don't have to take a bus, and the Skyliner is so convenient. Obviously, if it's raining, if it's lightning, it's going to shut down, but so does the boat, so does a lot of things. But the Skyliner is really what edged this and put it at the top of my list. It is a large resort, and I know the rooms are getting renovated, and I think some have already been renovated. I believe they're getting rid of the pirate rooms, so that's something that's new, that's going to be, but also with the Caribbean Beach Resort, it's where you stay. So I have, again, the best and worst rooms at Caribbean Beach. I'll put it up here. It is a great resort, but my recommendation is to stay in a standard room between the hub of the Skyliner and the Skyliner station for the Riviera. So that kind of area is, to me, the best area sweet spot if you're going to do a park intensive trip, for a couple reasons. You've got, there's a small pool. Obviously the main pool is going to be closer to the front of the resort, but you've got, if you're going to Epcot, you could walk over to Riviera. You can go to Riviera to use their quick service. You can go and just to walk around Riviera Resort. There's a really nice area there too. You've got all the amenities at Caribbean Beach, so you have a lot more amenities open to you just because of the proximity to Riviera. So Riviera quick service is great. The bar is great. While you could, if you have a character meal at Topolino's, you could literally walk there. So super convenient in a lot of regards. So that, and then also Caribbean Beach is also one of the other resorts that has the 5th sleeper. So again, if you have a family of 5, you can fit everybody in one room without having to get a family suite or a larger room. So that is a really huge benefit with those families that have 3 kids. You've got this, you got the resort with 5th sleeper. So those areas for me really edged it out. Again, I have never stayed there, so I know, I think before the Skyliner, Caribbean Beach probably would have been last on my list. It did not have a good reputation, but I think the Skyliner really put it up there, and for us, made it number 1. Now again, pulling up the pricing that I did the same for the value resorts. This was the pricing, I mentioned it earlier. So Coronado Springs was $225. So that is definitely the cheapest. And that's when I'm looking, I kind of see that Coronado Springs, again, it's a large resort and it usually will have some discounts. Not on all the categories, but some of them. Then you have, next is the Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort is $232. So the lowest price is going to be just a little bit more than the lowest price at Coronado Springs. And usually those are the rooms, like the pirate rooms, or the rooms that are further away from the amenities. So just kind of know where you want to book. Like if you want to be near the Skyliner, you may have to choose a particular category, and that's where touring plans and the map of touring plans is really helpful if you can kind of see where those locations are. The next is going to be Disney's Port Orleans Resort Riverside. This one goes to $249, and again, so that's a good $17 more than Caribbean Beach, so $17 a night. And again, but that's another resort that has a 5th sleeper. And then you have Disney's Port Orleans Resort French Quarter, $257. That's rack rate. And again, rarely do I see discounts on French Quarter. So that is going to be, it is already more expensive than the other resorts. And then the other resorts will usually, if there's a discount offered, they will usually be at least some category at the other resorts, where French Quarter rarely has discounts. So keep that in mind. And then the last thing is obviously the cabins at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort is $398. So obviously that's, you're getting a bedroom, right? I mean, you're getting a cabin, you're getting a little house. So full kitchen, so that makes sense. But a Caribbean beach, obviously I put it number 1 because pricing, the Skyliner, just everything to me, if I were booking a trip and we were in the budget of the moderate, Caribbean beach would be my first choice. So with that, if you disagree or you agree or what your favorite resort is, go ahead and put it in the comments below. Let me know your rankings. What would you rank it? I always love to hear other people's rankings. And you know, if you had a good experience at a resort, a bad experience at a resort, it always helps others because a lot of people do read the comments. So feel free to put comments below. I love hearing from people when they, you know, had a good experience, or sometimes if you had a not so good experience. It helps others when they're booking their trips. So with that, if you like this video, click like, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video. Bye everyone.